Hi guys, it's a beautiful morning on the commercial layer farm, as you can see right there in the background. We're going places, isn't it? I mean, now I've just been stepping out of my house. A while back, when I had started 5 years back, I was stepping out of my dad's house. You know, I just graduated as a doctor. I was starting this farm out, and at this point I would be stepping out of my dad's farm. And I mean, this is stuff that each and everyone usually does aspire to, you know, to have growth, yeah? Maybe for you, you're not aspiring to have a commercial layer farm like me right here. Maybe you're aspiring to have a broiler farm. Maybe for you it's a breeder farm. Maybe for you it is, I don't know, your own construction company. I don't know, whatever else that you're aspiring to. I believe the same principles that I have utilized to grow and, you know, get to this point is the same principles that you can utilize, and it's the very same exact principles that I'm going to be utilizing to move forward from this point, yeah? So I'm really excited. This gives me like really good vibes. And you know, for me, you might wonder, doctor, why in particular did you choose to focus on layers, not broilers and you know, not dual purpose chickens and any of those other things? And yeah, I think that's a good, valid question, a very good question. Meanwhile, we are in a rainy season. You can see that we do have some crops around that are planted. You know, you can see that we do have some maize here. There's some maize that is growing around. It's a beautiful time, yeah? So why in particular did I choose to focus on layers and not broilers? Now, if this is your very first time on the channel, you might need to probably watch a few more videos to understand ideally what happens around the farm. So I'm really a farmer for commercial layers. That's how I started out, yeah? Now, with time, and you know, through partnering with other people, I managed to go into breeder farming. You know, that's for both broilers and layers, and I actually do supply the old chicks in that there. And then I also do some goat farming, sheep. I've also done cattle in the past, but it's not something that I do concentrate on, yeah? So a lot of people keep asking themselves, and they're like, hey doc, why in particular did you choose layers over broilers? Yeah, and of course I did have reasons about that. And even right now, if you might be following me and you see what happens on the channel, I'm actually even doubling down more on layers, and right now not considering going into broilers. So why? I just want to explain this to you guys because I personally believe that if you grasp this very well, it can be a very good recipe for you succeeding and actually, you know, going to levels that are way beyond your imagination. So for me personally, when I started poultry farming, I started it as a business, yeah? I mean, I didn't start to farm chickens or do poultry as a hobby. That is something that I've said multiple times, yeah? It's not like, you know, I had this deep desire inside my heart to raise chickens and, you know, they would make me really happy every time I would look at them. No, I wasn't like that. It was, you know, purely for financial purposes. When I moved into it, I knew it 100% that I'm going to have to be making money out of this. Now, as you guys might also already know, when I personally started out, I didn't have land, yeah? So I didn't have personal land. And so the only land that I could have used at that time was my dad's land. That dad of my land was in such a location that ensured that it would be very difficult for me to do anything that's not layers. You see, when it does come to rearing chickens, I had done a bit of like background information. I tried to read up, you know, earlier. I had tried to do my research, so I'd gotten a lot of books, and I already understood that doing broiler farming in a more rural setting would have been difficult. I mean, guys, I'm not in a city setting. Where my farm is not a city setting. It's not even close to like a city. I mean, the closest, like would say city, like proper, you know, urban place, like really urban, is like 21 kilometers away. You guys can see banana plantations over here. I don't know. This is my neighbor's land right here. Yeah, you can even literally see a grave over there, yeah, in his land. I mean, people, they're burial grounds for people. They're not in an urban area, yeah? If you understand Africa, we rarely bury in urban areas. Usually if you find burial grounds in a place, it's either because people were buried there much earlier on before the place became urbanized, or it's really a rural area. Currently things are changing though. I mean, people are running out of land and all that kind of stuff. So people are starting to bury in the urban areas, but before it wasn't like that. So I knew that I didn't have an alternative. And honestly, I didn't have too much money. I couldn't buy land in an urban setting or anything like that. So because of that, I understood that the only thing that would make sense where I am is a commercial layer farm, yeah? So I couldn't farm local chickens. Local chickens would probably have been an idea, but I mean, You guys know how I bash looking after local chickens and farming local chickens. It's personally not something I do believe in. It's not something you can do in great numbers. Currently, I do have 10,000 chickens on this farm, well, almost 10,000 chickens. I would never have done that with a local chicken farm. Yeah, this is a commercial layer farm. I can do 10,000 chickens. I could never have done that with local chicken farm. Yeah, maybe I would do 200, 300, maybe 1,000 if I'm really doing well. Yeah, but with 10,000, it would have been really difficult. It just doesn't make too much financial sense. That is number one. And then number two, besides, just not having land, when I made calculations and tried to read up, I noticed that, honestly speaking, I think it's easier in the long term to manage a commercial layer farm when you're absent than to manage a broiler farm. In the long term, I mean, at the beginning, it's certainly much easier to manage a commercial broiler farm, because when it does come to broiler farms, raising the chickens and the entire process is much, much simpler. I mean, everything is simple. With broiler farms, between 4 and 6 weeks, you're sold off your birds, yeah? After 4 weeks, your birds are over 1.3, 1.4 kilos. And for a lot of markets, that's already a bird that can be put on the market and sold, yeah? If you keep them for up to 6 weeks, you're already doing over 2-point-something kilos. So what that means is that usually their cycle is much shorter. So if you're going to be around and supervise and be involved in the management, then it's a great alternative, yeah? But if you're going to keep doing it when you're present, go away, come back, go away. Usually when it does come to broilers, I mean, the marketing bit is usually the biggest problem when it does come to broilers. I mean, getting the market. Now, it becomes quite easy once you stabilize and get like a stable market, people who are consistently buying from you. Meanwhile, you guys, I don't know if you do remember, this place had a terrible bush, yeah, a very, very big bush, Take a look at that, yeah? This place had a very, very terrible bush, but it has been cleared. We did have groundnuts over here, and they were all uprooted, yeah? So it is right there that I'm going to be placing a tank stand. You guys do remember that we dug a borehole. So right there, I'm going to be placing a tank stand that's going to be supplying the rest of the farm. Right here, you can see my my banana plantation. So it's turning out to be really, really beautiful, yeah? I mean, places change really quickly. Anyway, because of that, and because of the fact that I was working as a doctor, full-time, so I had just a few days every week to be able to come to the farm and supervise. It would have made it very difficult, yeah, because at that point, I haven't yet figured out the marketing, especially for the broilers, looking for people to buy them and all that kind of stuff. It becomes quite crazy. With the layers, it's much easier once you've established a demand for the eggs, which honestly is not difficult to do. Even in a rural setting like this one, it's not difficult to do. It's quite easy to get people who are interested in buying eggs. They'll come look for them. At that time, it was really difficult to, come across eggs, and people would travel, I mean, long distances, just like it is right now, to come and buy the eggs from me. It was much, much, much easier for me at that particular point, yeah? So because of that, I found out that, doing a commercial layer farm is something that most probably will get me way more money. I mean, it will suit me better, yeah? And I've told you guys, of course, doing a commercial layer farm requires a bit more skill. It requires a bit more understanding of exactly what you're doing. It's way more risky, like I've told you guys, because you're going to keep the birds for a much longer time. Unlike doing a broiler farm where you're keeping the birds only 4 to 6 weeks, your risk here is spread out over a very much longer time. So it's a bit more risky, but I was more willing to take up the risk because I was willing to learn and learn as much as possible. And also I understood that, I mean, with a layer farm, more likely you're going to bring in more money. Yeah, it's certainly more profitable than doing a commercial broiler farm, at least in the area where I am. So because of that, I chose to do that. And I decided to double down on that, yeah? So the one thing that I've learned over time is that it's better that you become a master of one thing than become, a novice and try to do very many things at the same time, yeah? So because of that, I decided to concentrate on layers. And it's because of exactly that a lot of people actually do think that I've grown really quickly. When people look at my YouTube channel, because the good thing is that I've literally documented my journey from the time I started out, A lot of times I see people who go to, probably comments on my X or I don't know, other platforms, and they'll be like, oh, this guy, he inherited a lot of money. His parents gave him a lot of money when he was young. Or I don't know, his parent passed on and he gave him a lot of money. And, he was using, his dad gave him, I don't know, 100 acres, all that kind of stuff. Luckily enough, I do have everything documented. So, I mean, it's quite easy for me to explain myself, yeah? I don't really need to explain myself, but it's quite easy for me to explain myself, yeah? So, because when I was starting out, yeah, I had this focus. and I knew exactly what I wanted. It became quite easy for me to expand, honestly. It became quite easy for me to grow. I quickly grew from 800. Right now we are doing 9,000 and something birds on the farm, which honestly I still feel like it's really quick, but because of the laser thin focus, yeah, I knew exactly what I want. And I mean, a lot of people start out and they'll be doing local chickens, they'll be doing broilers, they'll be doing layers, they'll be doing everything. And when you do that, guys, it's difficult for you to grow. Your attention is on so many things, you can't focus on one thing, yeah? So probably when I grow and, you know, reach a particular number, even right now that I'm almost at 10,000 birds, my goal is still to, you know, keep expanding, probably double that, do 20,000. Maybe the next time I'm going to bring in 5,000. So maybe do 15,000. And then after that, do 20,000, yeah? I mean, do bigger and bigger numbers until at a particular point, I'm probably doing, you know, 100,000 birds. And maybe when I do 100,000 layers, then I can think of diversifying. Maybe I can start doing commercial broilers. Maybe I can focus on other things, because there I'll have the money and I'll have got the skill level and everything that I do require to diversify, yeah? So that's it, guys. That's why I personally chose to focus on layers. For you, you can choose to focus on broilers. There's nothing wrong with it, yeah? You can choose to focus on dual-purpose chickens. You can choose to focus on local chickens, depending on where I am. I personally don't really agree with focusing so much on local chickens and dual-purpose chickens. It's okay, but I mean, when you're starting out, it's okay. But if you're going to be doing the birds in big numbers and your goal is to grow, for me, when I was starting out, my goal was to grow. My goal was to get to really huge numbers. My goal wasn't to stop at like 1,000 birds. No, yeah. You might start out with only the capacity to look after 1,000 birds, but look at the bigger vision. Look at, you know, the end goal. Yeah, what could it be? Yeah, if it is something really big, then how about you just, you know, start out in the direction that you want to end up at. I was thinking to myself, you know, I want to start with 1,000 birds, but what if someday I'm doing 10,000? What if someday I'm doing 20,000 birds? That would be a really good thing. And here I am, yeah? I'm almost at 10,000 birds. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, guys, I'll tell you something interesting, yeah? Despite the fact that, you know, it feels like I've grown, in the grand scheme of things, I'm still a very small farmer, yeah? I do know a lot of farms that do, you know, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 birds, even in my country, yeah? So in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, if I'm doing 10,000 and someone is doing 200,000, how many times less is that, yeah? Very, very many times less, yeah? But I personally do believe that, you know, there is hope for me, and I look at everything from the bigger picture. Maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'll be doing what? Bigger numbers of birds. So I look at everything from the bigger picture, and I have a lot of faith and hope, and because of that, I choose to focus. I hope you guys have found value out of the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell, and I mean, there's way more videos for you to enjoy. You can click in the description of this video for you to enjoy way more. Lots of love. Bye-bye.